I always enjoy the casting process for those roles. With right, so we've got a new Mark Wahlberg film. He's looking for some heinously ugly sisters. So are you interested?
Yeah, that's exactly how it goes. Ugly sister number one.
Yeah, what do you think?
Welcome to Born to Watch, where three old mates, an ex-video shop owner, an industry insider, and a black belt in 80s kung fu movies put their mastery to the test on movies that changed the world.
Hey there, fellow watchers. It's that time of the week again, and we are live from the Panic Room. And my name is Whitey, and I'm the host of Born to Watch. And in the studio with me today is Gow, and he's back, but we'll get to him in a minute. And live from the land is the man with the clot, Dan. And this week, we are going inwards. We're talking Australian cinema for the first time in Born to Watch history. An iconic piece of Australian cinema. A movie that the three of us all grew up with, and I'm sure we have seen many times. And when we do Over and Under, it'll be very interesting, I've got no doubt. It created an adopted Aussie superstar, the first Russell Crowe. Spawned three sequels that spanned 34 years, and there's actually another sequel being made as we speak, Furiosa. And a question I will pose a little bit later, but maybe if the third movie didn't exist, could we be talking about the greatest movie trilogy in history? Of course, we are talking about Mad Max. And here's the trailer.
His name is Max, the crack interceptor on the highways of tomorrow. His only weapon, 600 horses of fuel-injected machinery. His mission, to pursue speed-crazed bandits anywhere. Mad Max. Rated R.
Now let's meet the team. We're back to full complement after last week, where I was left on my own, and I had the super sub in the Panic Room with me, Damo, who did a wonderful job. After travelling halfway around the world for WatchCon Mark II, Gower's back sitting opposite me. How are you, mate?
Very good. Great to be back in the studio with the boys again. Thank you, Whitey and Damo, for a great effort last week. Super episode. Yes, I was away. I've been overseas. I was actually invited on the inaugural United Airlines flight from Brisbane to San Francisco.
We're getting a reputation. Born to Watch.
Yes. I went on to review their movie collection, actually.
Okay, excellent.
Something they may want us. They've got some podcasts online, so maybe there's a spot for us on there.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Maybe we could offer something to them.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, no, I had to get away. Had a few rough weeks, so I thought I wanted to go and find myself a little bit, get back to my roots. So I went to Vegas.
With the Wolfpack?
with the one-man Wolfpack. No, had a couple of talks with a few of the larger casinos over there, maybe a couple of residencies for us.
Nice. Yeah. A live show would do well, I think.
Live movie reviews.
Why not?
We could be the new Chris Angel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Barry Manilow.
Well.
Billy Idol, Adele. There's heaps over there.
Yeah,
we'd be right up there with them.
We would, and we deserve to be. Well, we're on Spotify with them. We do hold the same court.
Did you go see Human Nature?
No, I didn't.
That's a surprise. That's a surprise, Gal.
Mate, I was very busy, back-to-back meetings.
Yeah.
Back to back.
Fair enough. Okay, up there on the land, recovering from DVT that would have destroyed a lesser man. Dan, how are you?
Yeah, first, I'd just like to say United Airlines can get fucked. So that's good that they invited you on their Brisbane-San Fran route, Gow, but I'll never be getting on their cattle-class piece of thud again. Yeah, pretty shit week on the land. My leg's still rooted, so I can't actually do much. I'm going a bit insane. But gave me plenty of time to watch Mad Max a couple of times to add to the tally, and also, of course, revisit my favourite documentary on Earth, which I've mentioned many times on the pod previously, Not Quite Hollywood. So, yeah, I put my sitting around with my leg up time to good use at least.
Excellent. So it's nice to see that you might have actually done some research for the podcast, Dan.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, listeners, but sorry, I wanted to say something else too. As far as us being the OG, I reckon Damo's heaps better than me. So if he wants to come in and sub me in, he's welcome to come in and be a foursome anytime, Damo. I think you're awesome. But
look, it has been thrown up. About a foursome. I'm still struggling with a threesome. I'm not sure I'm experienced enough to go to a foursome just yet.
Well, Sonny Payne, I've got to get Sonny on too. I'm on his land, and he's just special for a couple of movies. But I think is it Aussie Movie Month? Have we decided that, or do we talk about?
We're doing two. We've decided on two, and we possibly will do a third to round out November. So we'll decide the third one, but we're definitely doing Mad Max this week, and we've got another Aussie one for next week, which we'll obviously tell you guys about at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, that's good. I'm a big fan of Aussie movies, and Not Quite Hollywood, the doco, just made me even more proud to be part of the Australian movie making industry. So
absolutely,
yeah, some rippers to talk about.
Definitely. Look, this is an interesting one, and I've got an interesting story about when I first saw this movie. But do you guys remember when you first saw Mad Max?
No. Short answer. Couldn't tell you. Yeah. Saw it early, I know that, but couldn't tell you the very first time I saw it.
Yeah. What about you, Dan?
God, I would have been young.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, no idea.
Yeah, look, obviously released in 1979, so we were only whippersnappers when it was released, and it was not the kind of movie that a young child should watch. And really, you probably should have been at least 11 and up.
So you saw it at Hoyt's Ringer Mall the first week it came out with $4 from Colleen.
I didn't, but something quite similar. So, you guys know, and now the Globe knows that my dad used to work for Rank Arena, and he brought home a VCR when VCRs in the early days of VCRs. And with him, he carried two videotapes that came with that VCR. One of them was Apocalypse Now, and one of them was Mad Max. So I'm tipping this must have been 83, maybe 82, maybe very early days of VHS. And on they went. So when I was 8 or 7, I sat there and watched Apocalypse Now for the first time, and then watched Mad Max as a 7-year-old or 8-year-old, and loved it.
Yeah, I remember watching Mad Max, and it was pretty full on for the age we were. I remember that some of those scenes, were pretty terrifying at the time.
It still is. Yeah.
And we'll get to some of those, I guess, later on.
Yeah,
but
no doubt.
Getting back to that, I don't remember when I first saw it, but I do remember getting our first VHS player. We bought it from Grace Brothers at the mall.
Nice.
Up the top there, and took it home. And we got two movies, can't remember one, but the other one was definitely Stir Crazy.
Yeah, nice.
Don't know why we got it, but that's what we got.
Yeah, I recall the first VHS I ever owned, my nan gifted me for my birthday, Robbery Under Arms with Sam Neill. And with that, in a package deal, The Last Starfighter.
Oh, good
which
movie.
Is quality.
Yeah, I used to love that movie.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Gal, why don't you tell us about Mad Max?
All right, with the tagline, when the gangs take over the highways, pray he's out there somewhere. In the ravaged near future, a savage motorcycle gang rules the road, terrorizing innocent civilians while tearing up the street. The gang laugh in the face of a police force hell-bent on stopping them, but they underestimate one officer, Max Rockatansky. And when the bikers brutalize Max's best friend and family, they send him on the mad frenzy, leaving him with only one thing left in the world to live for: revenge.
Yeah. It's essentially just a revenge thriller.
It is, and his revenge is not a lot of the movie.
No, it's like the last 7 minutes.
He just takes them all out real quick. Real quick.
Like the bikie gang goes, and we'll get to this, but the bikie gang goes from like 30 when they first come into the town to pick up the Knight Rider's body.
Yep.
And there's like 6 in the end.
Yeah. I'm not really sure. And when they get to the farm, there's not many of them around, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what happens there. Look, this movie, this is an interesting one because this rates 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb, which I think is brutally low. But it's certified fresh, 91% on the tomato meter, which is critics, 70% audience score, which I think is purely because it's an Aussie movie that was released into the US and it's not well received. They don't get it.
I want to ask a question about the 6.8, but I don't really think I should bother.
Go on and ask it.
No, I was going to say, well, how did they get to that? Is it because it was an Aussie movie that didn't do so well?
I'd say the majority.
Is that where it comes from?
I'd say the majority of ratings are from the US, without a doubt. But it's obvious, it's obviously well received, critically acclaimed, 91%. I think it's seen in film schools now, like it's shown in film schools. This movie. This is 100% guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah, it is, and it spawned the sequels really quickly.
Yeah.
It was only a couple of years till the second one was out, and then only 3 years till the next one was out.
Absolutely. I'm sure we'll get to it, but it also was released in a US dub in the States. It was not released with the Aussie language. And I know Dan tried to get me to find a copy of it for him, and I actually stumbled across one that I couldn't get to him, and God, it's bad. And we actually might play some throughout the podcast. We might play a little bit of a scene where it's the US dub, and God, it's awful.
It wouldn't be good.
No, it's not good. It doesn't really work. Okay, so Gal, why don't you tell us about who stars in the movie?
Well, there's a major star, and then we run down. There's a few people, but it's obviously Mel, and it was Mel's first role. I mean, well, he was born in the US in 1956 and moved to Australia early on, and was studying at NIDA alongside Judy Davis. They were in Romeo and Juliet together, and alongside Geoffrey Rush and Colin Frills as well at NIDA. And he had a few stints on stage, knew a few things before.
What a class that would have been!
What a class!
What a class!
I mean, that's all jokes aside. Frilsey is very talented as well. But Geoffrey Rush, Steve Bisley, Judy Davis,
Judy Davis is next level.
Mel Gibson, that's it. Like that. I mean, that's just an incredibly talented class to go through the joint. Did you guys ever have any thoughts about going to NIDA? I
contemplated it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Gal, after your performance as the tree in Little Shop of Horrors, was it something that ever came to you as far as possible careers?
Yeah, look, I had a few offers to sort of fill that niche and to expand for people that wanted to follow up in those kind of natural roles.
But what's unfortunate, Gal, is that if you'd hung in there, you could have played Treebeard in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
I could have.
You missed an opportunity there.
I could have been in Game of Thrones.
Little Hobbit.
Yeah, I like you guys. It was definitely, I was curious as to what it was at the time. Obviously, did zero effort to find out about it, and that's a chapter that never happened, and I ended up more on the production side of the film industry. But it was, I can see we were all budding thespians back in the day, so it would have, I'm sure, have been on our radar.
You've been curious about a lot of things, though, Dan, haven't you?
Yeah.
And,
look, my motto has always and will always be, if it feels good, do it. So if it's mean I've gone down a few dark paths, sometimes with you guys torch-bearing, many times without you torch-bearing. So, yeah, that's, if it's if it feels like it's feel good, if you give it a tickle, then do it.
Absolutely. Continue, Gal.
All right. So Mel's first movie was Summer City, and now I think Steve Bisley was in that as well, but he played a character called Scallop in 1977 and then moved into the Sullivans, and this is the same for quite a few of these people this year. The Sullivans, Cop Shop, a few shows of that time, and then he got cast into Mad Max in 79, so he was still coming out of NIDA at that stage.
He was still training, yeah.
He got paid $10,000.
Yeah,
for the role,
and not only that, he wasn't going to audition for it. He turned up to drop a mate off, and his mate was like, "You might as well have a crack." Now, he got in a fight the night before and looked like shit. It was all bruised up, so he's gone in there to audition, and they've taken the Polaroids of him, and then he's gone back 2 weeks later, and he looked normal. They go, "Who are you?" He goes, "That's me up on the board. I'm all bruised up," and they're like, "Holy shit! Like this guy's a star." And straight away went and saw George Miller, and bingo bongo, he's Mad Max.
Yeah, prophetic.
Yeah.
So I didn't realise. I thought he was always putting on that accent that he has when he was in the Lethal Weapon movies, just because they were American and he was meant to be an American soldier in those films. But he's got that weird ass Aussie Yankee accent in this. So I don't. Well, do you know? I thought he left the US as a kid, but it really sounds like he was still affected by that twang.
Well, born in 56 and he moved in the 1960s. So I mean, there's a definite. Well,
they hate to lose the accent, though, right?
Yeah, it's difficult.
Yanks are famous for holding on to their accents.
It's like when Dorian Martin went to the States for 4 months and came back and spoke like an American. Shout out to Dorian.
Yeah. Funny.
But anyway, so he was a nominee for awards in Mad Max. Did another movie that year in 79 called Tim with Piper Laurie and got an award for that too, I believe, an actor award. But then went into 81 into Gallipoli. Fantastic Aussie movie.
One of the great
movies. The best.
Peter Weir, amazing.
Yeah. And then Road Warrior 81, so only a couple of years later, we're into the sequel, as we said.
Yeah, and one of the sequels that could quite easily be better than the original.
Yeah, could be.
Yep.
So I'll talk more about just with Mel Gibson. He pops up in Film School for F-Wits this week just because he sounds like he's an absolute fuckwit. So it's a real shame because you'll go on, I'm sure, Gow, about everything he went on to do in his film career, both as an actor and a director, and both at some stages. But his private life overshadowed that, and some pretty racist and misogynist views that he espoused onto recordings that essentially had him cancelled out of.
Well, he went down in a flame, didn't he? And quickly, alcoholism was his undoing, and I think he was here one day and gone the next.
Well, I'll tell you guys, he won 2 Oscars, and they were Best Picture and Best Director for Braveheart in '95. And his other award that he's got is from the Alliance of Women Film Journalists. He won the Female Focused Award, their Sexist Pig Award.
Really?
Yeah, apparently knocked that one out of the park quite easily.
Look, the only thing that really needs to be said about Mel Gibson is, oh, Mel. Why, Mel? Why, Mel? You were such a star.
Yeah, as you said, he went down in a blaze of glory, didn't he?
Blaze of glory.
Yeah. But look, I'll go through because, I mean, his back catalogue's pretty big. So
one of the best.
We'll bounce through it. The Year of Living Dangerously, The Bounty, 84, The River, Beyond Thunderdome, 85, Lethal Weapon, 87, Tequila Sunrise.
Yep. And there's Kurt Russell.
There's Kurt Russell.
1 Degree.
So I was waiting for you.
Yep.
Lethal Weapon 2, Bird on a Wire, Air America, Lethal Weapon 3, The Man Without a Face.
Hold the phone. I love Air America. I think it's underrated with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, I think it's good fun. That's Mel Gibson at his charming best, I reckon.
Did you like Bird on?
Robert Downey was in or out of rehab at the time too. I think
it was around that time.
Sprung him to do the movie, and then he went back in or something. Or when
it was 1990. It was around that time.
He would have been on that China White over there in the Southeast Asia. It would have been hard to resist.
He definitely espouses the "if it feels good, do it" ethos. The Born to Watch love, but he went a bit far.
That was his 90s.
We talked about him in Less Than Zero with Art Imitating Life,
Yeah. But anyway, so Braveheart 95, Ransom, Conspiracy Theory.
Oh, that's a good movie too.
Payback.
I like Ransom. Ransom's good.
Ransom was good. I liked Payback too.
Payback's great.
Payback's great movie. The Patriot in 2000, and then you've hit the big time when you then get to do a rom-com. What Women Want.
With Helen Hunt. Yeah, it was awful.
In 2000,
Not a fan.
We Were Soldiers, Signs, Edge of Darkness, Get the Gringo. Quite like that.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah. He was in Machete Kills.
Yeah. This is where he's getting a bit paycheck-ish, right?
Well,
This is where he's on the way out.
Then The Expendables. I mean, there's a few other things in there, but this is probably when the troubles hit him. So the roles weren't coming through.
Well, I think from probably Get the Gringo on.
Yeah.
I think he's starting to be on the out then. He's not quite cancelled.
There was a massive issue with him and The Passion of the Christ as well. So he definitely, unfortunately, it was due to his views with that particular film, and I guess it clashed a lot with traditional Hollywood and other.
Well, he's a mad churchy. He's a mad Catholic. He's a mad churchy.
So that's why I think he was starting to do what you said, paycheck is like Get the Gringo, which is obviously a huge step down from Oscar-winning roles and also the big franchise movies that he was doing. So definitely started the decline. But then when he got caught telling his then girlfriend what would happen to her if she went out in the source without him, and got caught espousing anti-Semitic views as well. So it just wasn't going to end well for our Mel.
No, and it didn't. Oh, Mel.
Yes.
I just got the old Mel reference. Oh, wow. Shout out to several Born to Watch listeners for that one.
Yeah, we'll leave that one there, Dan. Thank you. Oh, Mel. Continue, Gal.
Look, here you go. Sliding doors for Mel. He almost turned down the role of William Wallace in Braveheart because he thought he was too old for it. And so he asked the producer if he could just direct it instead, but they wanted him in the movie, so a compromise was made to put him in, and I think probably his biggest movie, one of his biggest movies.
You can't imagine anyone else in that role now.
No.
He's very good in that movie.
Yeah. But was considered for James Bond in The Living Daylights and Goldeneye before Dalton and Pierce Brosnan, I should say, were in there.
Yep.
But he got turned down.
I think he might have been a better Bond than Timothy Dalton.
Yeah, look, I thought about that. I think he would be. He's got the wit. He's certainly got the charm and the wit, but I don't know if he has the polished.
But in saying that, have either of you watched the two Dalton Bonds lately, like in the last
Not
couple
lately,
of years?
no.
Fuck no.
Okay, so they're actually not bad. They're worth a watch. It's not all his fault. The movies are way darker. They're a way more serious tone. It's a massive tonal shift in those two movies. And it's not all Timothy Dalton. Of course, we're used to seeing the campy Roger Moore, and then before him, Sean Connery.
Roger Moore.
So, but they're not as bad as you think, and worth having a little look at.
Okay.
Yep.
Have to go and rewatch.
Yep.
Was offered the role of Elliot Ness in The Untouchables, but turned that down because he was doing Lethal Weapon. I don't know if I could see him in.
No, I don't think he's not a Boy Scout.
No,
he doesn't have the Boy Scout charm that Kevin Costner does.
Don't know. Turned down Harvey Dent or Two-Face in Batman Forever because of Braveheart.
Right. Yep. I could see him there.
Now here's one I thought might have been good. He turned down the role of Kyle Reese in The Terminator.
Wow.
I think he would have done well in that role.
Definitely.
Michael Bean's good.
We're all huge Michael Bean fans, but I can see Mel Gibson, doing that.
He would have crushed that.
I think he would have been really good in that role, yeah.
So he would have been deep in, the 85 is Beyond Thunderdome?
That was 84, yeah, so Beyond Thunderdome, 85.
So I guess he would have been doing...
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would have been involved in that. But he also turned down Maximus Aurelius. Turned down being the gladiator.
I'll tell you what, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see him as Maximus Aurelius.
Yeah. And that role is really the one that put. Russell.
Well, that made Russell Crowe.
That was the big.
That was it.
Thing for him. Yeah.
Well, that won the Academy Award for that.
Yep. And put him on his way.
Yeah.
Look, then we move in. So look, the rest of the cast. We've got Steve Bisley, good Aussie actor. He's been around for a long time.
He's very good in this. The Goose.
Very good in this.
Yeah.
Just a larrikin. Yeah, very. Yeah, I thought he was great on that, especially
100% snafu.
Yeah, he's got one of the best quotes in the movie too, which we'll get to that. Later.
I hope it's what I think you're going to be. I hope it's what I think you're going to say.
Okay,
I'll leave that for you.
But look, he started in Summer City as well. He played Boo in Summer City alongside Mel. Was in Newsfront, had a small role in Newsfront in '78. In Mad Max: A Town Like Alice. But then was in Police Rescue as Nipper Harris.
Mate, I love Police Rescue. Gary Sweet, Steve Bastoni.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he was into. Yeah, he was in the Water Rats. It was Jack Christie. He was in The King. Sea Patrol. So done, and then he was in Great Gatsby as well in 2013.
Sea Patrol, was that was the one that had the was it Andrew? Someone, it was the
Andrew
Navy
Clark.
Andrew Clark.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
that was a great show.
It was a Navy boat. They did Sea Patrol.
Boat. That's right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, so look, Joanne Samuel, who played Jessie, she had some early roles. A few of the actors in this movie had some early roles and haven't really kicked on. She was in Young Doctors for 255 odd episodes, in the 70s, and won the role in this movie or in Mad Max by default. The actress who was going to play in the role had a car accident before shooting was going to start, so she was cast into it really late.
Because she knew sign language?
Yeah.
Crazy about you.
Yeah. You know that's made up, right?
Yeah, of course it is.
Her one, she just made that up on set, right?
She's a good actress.
Yeah. She was in the Wiggles movie in 97. That was about the last big thing she was in.
Wow. Wiggles movie.
And then you've got the good old Toecutter.
Well, mate, he's in 2 Mad Max films.
Well, he is. Different roles.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know that. Like, you wouldn't know he's a Morton Joe.
No, you wouldn't know.
In Fury Road.
He looks terrible.
Well, you don't see his face, really.
Yeah. You can sort of tell when he talks. You can tell a little bit when he talks.
Yeah, but it's very hard to pick up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the only time you see his face is when that thing gets ripped off him at the end.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But, Hughes Keysburn, he was started in a movie called Stone in 1974. Was
That's
in the
a
Man
good
from Hong
biker
Kong.
movie. Good biker movie.
Oh, he was played Simon in a movie Be Close to Your Heart, Morgs. It was called Mad Dog Morgan, 1976.
Did that star? Was that Dennis Hopper? Yeah. Wow.
It was.
Mate, we laugh about the piss consumed on Born to Watch, but Dennis Hopper was on the overproof rum, just drinking full bottles and just making an absolute canut of himself for the whole shooting. Apparently, it was a nightmare. There's a lot about that in not quite Hollywood. So
yeah, that's
definitely
right.
worth a look.
Again,
there's a good stat about beer on this movie too. You got that one, Whitey?
Yes, I do have that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Look, also he's in Ginger Meggs.
I
Captain
love
Hook
Ginger
in
Meggs.
82. Good movie. Great
Meggs
movie.
yeah.
And then obviously he wasn't, jobbed around for a bit, not doing a lot, but then a Morton Joe in 2015. We've got Roger Ward, He was in Mad Dog Morgan as well.
That's Fifi, isn't it?
That's Fifi.
Yeah.
He was a bit of a favourite of the Aussie genre filmmakers at the time, Roger Moore, because he's such a big unit. And
he was in a lot of them.
He was a wrestler, so he was. That's why he's got such a big frame and stature. But yeah, I think he's great. He just turns up.
Do you reckon that's supposed to be a bullet hole in the back of his head? You know, he's got the scar down the middle of his head, and then it looks like a bullet. It's like it reminded me of the of Marcellus Wallace in Pulp Fiction, how he had the Band-Aid on the back of his head.
Yeah.
It's like I was like thinking when I was watching it the other day, I'm like, God, is that supposed to be a bullet wound?
He wasn't a nude nut. Like George Miller asked him to shave his head for the role.
Right.
So he had full hair. Right. So that's interesting. No, I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was in The Man from Hong Kong as well, alongside the Toecutter. He was in Number 96 and the Pirate movie.
Abigail's
Chris Atkins.
Blowing, Christy McNichol.
Yeah, used to watch that.
I actually tried looking for that the other week to watch.
He was in Young Einstein in 88, but he was also in one of Damo's favourites in 1990.
Oh, God.
Quigley.
Quigley Down Under.
Played Brophy in that.
Wow.
Yeah, little film. Quick one. Sheila Florence was in this movie too. She played May on the farm. She's
the old bird.
Yeah, she's Lizzie Birdsworth from Prisoner.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. She was 100 then.
Roses.
I wish you would again.
I used to pretend I was asleep when I first moved up to Sydney from Melbourne, living with Barma at Narrabeen, and I'd be in the single bed, and she'd have Prisoner on, so I'd have one eye open trying to watch that as well. So I got a lot of Prisoner time in there.
Yeah. I used to watch a bit of Prisoner, late night Prisoner. Yeah, same thing at home. Used to see a bit of that. Yep, the good old Freak.
Did you get into Wentworth? Apparently the reboot was actually...
Gow's a huge Wentworth guy.
Yeah, no, look, I did. I got into it for the first two series, and then it jumped the shark for me pretty quickly when the Freak in the new one, gets caught out, and then they put her in the same prison with all the prisoners she's been doing all the bad stuff.
Yeah, right.
Got you. So the screw. Right, okay,
yeah. She was the screw, and she was really bad, and then she got caught out doing a lot of stuff, and she was the warden, and then they put her in that same jail.
Well, because that would happen.
Yeah, and then when it got to that point, I didn't watch the next 6 seasons of it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But anyway, we're pretty light on.
Yeah, I reckon that's
I'm not going to go into Kundalini.
No.
So there's one guy that is that you didn't mention that has a really iconic head, and he turned up in a lot of Australian TV and film over time.
Let me just guess. Is he the station master?
Yeah.
Interesting. That's not who I'm talking about, but yes, he has a very.
Hang on, I got another one.
Go.
The fuckwit lawyer.
Oh yeah,
Gil. Yes, he was on Cop Shop for years. Yeah,
Cop for years. Yeah.
But
really money.
I'm not talking about him either. No, it's the mechanic at when Mel goes in to get his tyre fixed. So his name's Nico. I can't think of his surname, but he was on all sorts of Aussie TV, including Heartbreak High, the original one. But interesting story. He's actually a co-writer on Mad Max Fury Road. So he was just an actor in this particular movie, but he helped out with Fury Road, which is obviously an incredible film. So yeah, a bit of a slashy. This guy, he's got his fingers in a few pies like me.
Said he was going north.
Maybe. Yeah. Look, the other one was Jeff Parry, who played
Craig's dad.
Could be the Paz.
Mudguts.
No, he was he was the offsider. Oh, his name's escaped me.
Bubba Zanetti.
Zanetti,
yeah. Mate, but you talk about him in Aussie stuff. He was in Gallipoli in 81. He was in Anzacs. Remember Anzacs, the miniseries?
Yeah, that's Hogs.
Hogs and all that. And then he's had one-off roles in Stingers, Water Rats, Blue Healers.
Stingers.
He's bounced around. Stingers.
Where is Phelpsy? Are we getting Phelpsy on this podcast?
I'll message him again this week.
Come on, Phelpsy.
With our Australian, we could do 1 degree of Phelpsy so easily.
Exactly.
Without a doubt.
We need you, Phelpsy.
Yeah, that's enough on the cast. We're wearing thin now. Tell us about the rest of 79. Big year. What do you got there?
Well, what have we got? Okay, 79 movies. So, look, the awards went out this year. Kramer vs. Kramer won pretty much everything. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Dustin Hoffman, Best Supporting Actress for Meryl Streep. Yep. Best Screenplay, Best Actress for Sally Field in Norma Ray. But the number one, the box office for this was a domestic gross of 8.75 million, a worldwide of 100 million. I don't know if that's retrospective, but it was shot in 12 weeks for a $350,000 budget.
No, it was the highest grossing film based on cost of production for years.
Yeah.
This thing had an incredible return. 100 million on 350 grand was just was unheard
No,
of.
it's crazy.
So it wasn't until Blair Witch Project came along that finally beat him, because that cost about $9. But no, Mad Max was the title holder for many, many, many years.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's 1.4 million adjusted for inflation for 2022. That's the budget.
Yeah,
$1.4 million budget.
Crazy.
But there's a few things we'll get to about why that was, because there was a lot of guerrilla stuff in this movie.
Shit.
But other 79 movies, what do you reckon the box office winner was that year?
79.
Box office? Was it Alien?
Alien wouldn't have won the box office. No,
Alien was number 3 with 184 million.
Don't know.
Got number 2 was
Apocalypse Now?
All right, Rocco.
Oh, Rocky 2.
Rocky 2.
Oh, was it
Rocky 2?
Saturday Night
200
Fever, maybe, or was it Grease?
No, we mentioned this. Franchise before.
We mentioned the franchise before. Number 1, we've mentioned the franchise before.
Was Moonraker.
Oh, Bond.
210 million.
One of the worst Bonds.
Yeah.
They go to space.
Yep.
Do you know so Quentin Tarantino and his producing partner have actually done a podcast recently where they actually stick up for Moonraker as a film.
Yeah, I listened to it.
Yeah, they're not, as podcasters, they make incredible filmmakers, but I think that it's interesting that they chose that movie, because I haven't seen that in years and wouldn't bother to watch it again, but they're very fond of it.
They are, yes.
But yeah, a couple more. There's Star Trek in number 4, Kramer vs. Kramer in 5, Mad Max in 6, Apocalypse Now in 9, Escape from Alcatraz in 15.
Great movie.
Meatballs came in at 16.
Yeah.
Was that 79? Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Black Stallion.
I love the Black Stallion.
Yeah.
Ricky Schroeder.
That's right.
Yeah. It's great.
Ricky Schroeder. Yeah.
Yeah, the boat sinks and he.
Yep, that's right.
Fuck, it's a good movie. Yeah.
One of my favourite old movies came in number 32 here.
The Warriors.
The Wanderers.
Oh,
The Wanderers.
Well, the Warriors are out in 79 as well.
Yeah.
The Wanderers.
The Warriors were 34. Sorry.
Yeah.
The Wanderers. Have you not seen The Wanderers?
The Wanderers, Ken Wall.
Yeah, and it's the guy from Porky's. Meat.
The big fella.
Yeah.
What do they do?
Oh, they're gangs.
It's a gang.
They're gangs, in New York. It's not the sort of same as the Warriors where they're trying to get home, but they're all in their local gangs, and there's end up being gang fights. It's a really good old movie. If you like the Warriors, it's sort of a similar vein. I can't believe you haven't seen it. It's unreal.
Is it like the fish that ate Pittsburgh?
Thanks, Damo.
But anyway, Life of Brian in at 38.
Yeah. He's not the Messiah.
And really, that's it. I mean, there's a few good movies there.
Hang on. I've got a couple here for you. One of my favourite horror movies that I remember as a kid, When a Stranger Calls. Great movie. One you would like, number 8, The Amityville Horror. Yeah, that's another good one.
Yeah. Dawn of the Dead.
There's also Caligula, which is starring one of the McDowells, and it is a full-on porno. It's a full-on porno.
That's right. I've heard about that.
It's Malcolm McDowell. Mate, there's some great movies in 79.
Yeah.
Really good movies. 10 comes out with Bo Derek. She wows everyone. The Jerk, Steve Martin. Steven Spielberg's worst movie, 1941. The Black Hole. Yeah. It's a good movie, though. Oh, he's one for Goobs, Breaking Away.
Yeah, that won a couple of awards too.
Yeah.
Breaking Away. But all right, let's slide in. We've got other movies. Let's slide into some songs.
Yeah, let's
1979
songs. Let's do it.
What do you reckon the number 1 song was, Morgs?
It'll be Michael Jackson. No.
I don't know if you get this one. It was Racy.
Ooh.
It was Lay Your Love on Me.
Right. Come on, baby, lay your love on me.
Yeah, that's the one.
Wow.
Really?
Kiss in at number 2.
I Was Made for Loving You.
Yep. And then Blondie in at 3.
Mate.
With Heart of Glass.
Mate, Michael Jackson, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, can't be far away. Get up.
Don't know. Not on my list here, but I've got a couple for you here in number 11, My Sharona.
Yep.
Yeah, the
Good
knack.
old one-off. La Freak, number 8.
So chic.
I don't like Mondays at number 6, the Boomtown Rats.
Oh, mate.
But here you go, number 13, Morgs. This has been right up your alley as a young bloke around Melbourne.
Yeah.
Up there, Kazali.
Oh,
This is an Aussie list too. Sorry, I should have prefaced that.
Oh, hang on. I got one, 1979. Oh, this thing called love.
Queen.
I
Great song.
just can't handle it. And then Video Killed the Radio Star.
Yeah, Video Killed the Radio Star. Mine's on the Buggles, number 18. But no, I was going to do the top 20 because Bright Eyes came in with Art Garfunkel.
Well, that's from Watership Down, which absolutely destroyed me as a kid, even to this day. I've got PTSD for watching Watership Down.
Okay.
What about the rabbit?
Yeah, about the rabbits, yeah.
But no, so I was going to cut off at 20, but then there's a song that came in at number 22. I couldn't just leave it out. It was the Mojo Singers. Come on, Aussie, come on, come on. That came in at number 22 on the Aussie singles.
Oh.
Well, I've got a song here. It was released in 79. I'm going to start. I've got a feeling we're all going to chime in at some stage. It is the night. My body's weak. I'm on the run. No time to sleep. I got to ride like the wind to be free again. And I got such a long way to go. Such a long way to go to the border of Mexico. So ride
like the
wind. Ride
like the wind. Christopher Cross.
One of the best.
Great song.
One of the best songs. It still holds up today. It's one of the greatest songs ever written. Yeah. And I must say, it is the highlight of Anchorman 2. It is the only good part of Anchorman 2.
There's not much good about Anchorman 2.
It is the only part.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Good year, 79. A lot of good songs. You know, I Got You, Split Ends. Just a lot of Voulez.
That was Split Ends. Split Ends. Those guys were about 18 when they wrote I Got You. Yeah. It was incredible, our talent. Those crazy Kiwis.
I thought Don't Stop Believing would be... That was 81, though. Okay. I just looked it up. I thought that's got to be around the same time.
I'll tell you what, it was... and this is one for Goobs. Big year for Chris Cross. Sailing takes me away to where I'm going to...
If you're looking for something to listen to, just type in yacht rock into Spotify, and all of those Christopher Cross, Doobie Brothers, a bit of Eagles. It's just definitely just a bloated Southern California drugged up feel. If you're keen to get amongst it, it's very, very good.
Absolutely.
Yacht rock. All right, I'm into that, Morgs.
Yeah,
yacht rock.
That's right up the alley.
That'll get you through the day.
Okay. All right. You done, Gow?
Done.
Okay. Well done as always. Crushed it. Couple questions. Question time. Oh, we've had this one before, but we just need to confirm it. Is the Interceptor the greatest movie car of all time?
Yeah, I loved it as a kid.
Oh.
How good was it? Like when you're young and that thing just pounded down the road. Yeah,
all the cars.
Yeah,
like the MF2, the yellow XB Falcon.
Yep.
Fuck, that paint job is next level. Love it.
The Batman car, the original one, was pretty special, but I think if it's a car that you covet, then definitely one of these would be. I mean,
and do you know that the original was found in like a scrapyard in 1980?
Yeah, crazy.
Like they just did nothing with these cars. If they kept them, they'd be worth millions of dollars.
Yeah,
I remember going to the Easter show, and it must have been like in the mid 80s, and there was a big top that had the Interceptor from Mad Max 2 in there. And I got to go in there and sit in there. It had the passenger side door with the dog seat on the side. The dog could sit in. Yeah, mate, love that car. Love that car. Okay, then question 2, and I've sort of mentioned it earlier, but if you take out Thunderdome, where does Mad Max, Road Warrior, Fury Road? It's got to sit right up there with the great trilogies of cinema. They are 3 special movies.
They are.
You know what? This one, we love Mad Max, but I try to look at it, and that's why I wanted to watch it with the dub, because I wanted it to sort of feel like what it must have felt like for the Americans to watch the film, because I think we love it so much because it was such a part of our childhood and we saw it so much, and it's such a broad ochre accent that we just really gel, I guess, with the characters that are in there. But for an international audience, I think it would have been hard to digest. So I can see how if you look at critics' ratings, people, they cannot help themselves and froth out on The Road Warrior. That's just a classic piece of cinema. That's Mad Max 2 for anyone that wasn't aware. Thunderdome doesn't get as much respect, but is also revered. And then Fury Road has come along and blown everything away. But Mad Max is kind of forgotten. And even when I sometimes cheat a little and get on and see if anyone else has done a podcast on Mad Max, and there just wasn't anything about this. So it's a film that's, I guess, for people that love the franchise, don't always dive deep into this particular film. So it's interesting as to how an international audience would rate the films. I think you would find that this one wouldn't be at the top of.
Well, the IMDb rating says enough at 6.8. It's far too low for as good a movie as it is.
Exactly.
So for the whole, like, what other trilogies?
Oh well, you could sort of say Star Wars.
Yeah.
You could throw Mel's Lethal Weapons in there.
Aliens.
Lord of the Rings. Well, yeah, first two. The third one's naff.
It's not really a trilogy.
But it seems that with trilogies, there's always one outlier, usually in the trilogy. And, so if you took Thunderdome out and slipped Fury Road in there, it's a real strong trilogy.
American Pie.
Christopher Nolan's Batmans, I think that trilogy was
Very good.
super strong.
Yeah,
that's probably my last real bite of the superhero cherry before it turned into Naff City. So
I don't think you give them the MCU enough credit, Dan. I think Marvel, the original Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3 of Marvel is something pretty special, what they did. And some of them would be worth watching, definitely.
You just can't mine that many films from the one story embryo. Like, it's too far, too much. They're just they're too same, and I just get the characters the same. And no, I'm sorry, but I think if they'd done the Ricky Gervais method and done just a few films, I think they would be revered. But no, they've just completely overdone it. This new Wakanda Forever is getting really good reviews again, and I enjoyed Black Panther. I thought that was good, and this one's getting. I think there's quite a lot of nostalgia is not the right word, but a lot of love for Boseman, Chadwick Boseman that passed away. But yeah, but how many times can you mine from that same story embryo?
I understand what you're saying, but Infinity War and Endgame are fucking next level good.
Yeah.
They are so... How they managed to tie that together and have it end where it did. And if there was never another Marvel movie made, that would be fine for it to end there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the stuff after that has not been good, apart from the latest Spider-Man, which is exceptional. But the rest of them are not very good.
And it's really hard to compare across those generations too with the way they make the movies now as compared to what they had there. I mean, you're talking about a movie with a $350,000 budget.
Yeah, for sure.
Not one of those films would be in my top 100 of films that I would recommend to anyone. So I just don't know.
Enough.
They're just anyway. That's
okay,
my opinion. It carries a lot of weight.
Yeah, absolutely. Question 3. What do you choose? Ankle or chain?
Oh.
I watched it. I watched it on the plane on the way back, and it's quite funny because he says you got 10 minutes to get through the high tensile steel, and you probably got 5 minutes to get through your ankle, and then he turns around and goes to the road. It's like a minute.
Yeah, he's limpy. He's limpy, Mel. There's some time that's gone. But what do you choose?
Well, Johnny the boy, he was never getting out of that situation. But yeah, I think that's your end of days right there. There's not many people on earth that are cutting through their ankle.
Well, he definitely isn't. He's shown that he's not going to cut his ankle.
Oh, there's no way.
Yeah,
there's no way he was ever going to do that.
What a great, seriously, what a great end to a movie. Just the ultimate revenge. Just
if you think
on the side of the road,
If you think about the first Saw movie, which it's probably the only Saw movie I've seen, but James Yarn, Lee Whannell, they basically stole that premise for the setup for Saw, where they're both chained in with the murderer, and they have to either go through the chain or through their ankles. So they openly love that particular scene and use it to kickstart a massive horror franchise. So it's definitely been utilised well.
Okay, well, it's time to move into the categories. So the good, the bad, the ugly, where we talk about the things that we loved about the movie, the stuff that we thought was bad about the movie, and the downright ugly. We're going to start with the with number 2 today, Gow. And what do you got for good, bud?
For good, I've got a couple of things down here. I've got the music. Love the score at the start. Just that jerky, orchestra kind of music. It really sets the scene for the movie. It gives you climactic. You know something's going to happen. You know something's coming with the movie. And also, maybe Morg's talk a bit more about this. Is the car scenes when they're chasing and they speed up. They speed up that vision.
Yep.
The cars racing. I really love that. I remember as a kid watching that. It just, to me, added to that quality because it looks like they're really coming for them. Like really adds to the speed of it all.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Just to nerd out for a second on that. So we're talking about 1979 here. So that there weren't GoPros. There weren't the way that George Miller was able to design these action shots was just completely new to film at a cinema and led the way for car chase sequences still to this day. So if you think just small shots, like you think about Goose when he takes off from after he takes down the singer in the bar and then he rides off to he's like there's a cameraman sitting on the back with an old school camera and the guy's doing 180 clicks. Like it's not they couldn't CGI the speedo. Like they are, and then the use of it's an anamorphic lens that they use in widescreen to shoot a lot of the chase scenes, and it's why they look so beautiful. But they also had sorry mate, you go.
Yeah, I just interrupt you there on that. Do you know I was watching a thing this afternoon on it. Those lenses were used by Sam Peckinpah in the movie The Getaway.
Yep,
and he trashed them in the making of the movie. And so they were sent to Australia to live out their lives, the end of their lives, these lenses. So George Miller got them because they cost fuck all, and only one of them worked, and it was the wide lens, anamorphic lens. It was a very specific special lens. And so everyone's going, what an amazing decision you made by shooting it this way. And he's like, it's the only fucking lens we had.
It's just such a unique way to shoot a car chase, and a little bit about an anamorphic lens is that essentially it cuts off the horizontal space and keeps the vertical space so that it stretches the image essentially. It just makes it really wide and beautiful, and it's just wide. And even Quentin Tarantino has a froth out about this in the docker that I always sprout on about. But it's just such an incredibly beautiful way to shoot these cars. But they weren't doing it in slow-mo and then speeding up a lot of the time. Like they literally had constructed these cameras to be 5-6 inches off the ground, and it just was groundbreaking what they did with it. So
and some of those some of the crashes in that movie are just all time too. Some of the cleanups.
Well, the first crash with the Knight Rider.
Yeah.
So they actually strapped a rocket to the back of that car.
Oh, did they?
And then actually had dummies in the car and fired this fucking rocket at that crash. So they set up the truck and the other cars, and and the first take, the car missed and just went sailing past. So they had to reset and go again, right? And this was just never done before.
Well, and there was nothing. There was no engine in the blue car that came out, right?
Yeah.
So and that just made it take off even more. Like it just ripped it apart, right? Because there's no weight in it. So that just made it even more spectacular crash.
Yeah.
Just some of the stuff they did, I think,
Well, it was full on. It was like, what have we got here? How can we do it? Yeah, how can we do it?
Just came off.
Yeah. Well, there's that, and I'm sure we might get to it and listen to this, but I'm going to spoil it now. There's the urban legend that the van was George Miller's van.
Yes,
that they smashed, but it wasn't. It was one they had on set.
Yeah.
But one thing is the caravan that the MFP car smashes through. That was the makeup caravan. So it got to the end of the shoot, and we need a van to smash through. So we don't need any more makeup. Let's just roll the van out on the freaking road and just run through it. Just shit like that, right? Yeah.
Well, they didn't have a lot of licenses for a lot of this stuff too.
Mate, it was all,
so they had to go. They had to go and get it done really quick.
Yeah,
because they had to get off the road.
Pure guerrilla.
Yeah,
it was pure guerrilla. Yeah. Anything else, Gal?
No, that's it.
Morgs, what do you got?
Oh, look, I don't know where to start with good on this film. I mean, just the whole mythology of how it was done and how George Miller and Byron Kennedy came together. I mean, George Miller was an emergency doctor and met Byron Kennedy, and they went off and did a film school course together. And essentially, just none of the studios and none of the filming bodies wanted to give them any cash for this at all. So they raised $350,000 amongst themselves and friends, and it just meant they didn't have to answer to anyone. But George Miller, they done one short film previous to this, and it was quite well received. But they made this all up on the go, essentially. They hired a screenwriter who was a journo James McCausland, who just loved film. We basically like sat around like the three of us do and just talking film quotes with George Miller. And he was like, well, you're a journalist, and I read somewhere that journalists make great screenwriters, so how about you write the script? And that was literally how it came together. But it's I just think I just love how it was shot on the cheap. I love how they were paying the stunt guys in beer, and the bikies were actual bikies, a lot of them that came along. Like it just sounds like an absolute gonzo film set.
Those bikies, they had to drive down on the set. They had to ride down because they couldn't bring them in.
They couldn't afford to ship them down. But it was the first essential boot camp, because they said to the bikies, ride down and become a gang.
Yeah.
So ride down as a bikie gang, and that was their boot camp. All they needed was Lieutenant Dale Dye as the head bikie, taking them through the steps, and it would have been exactly like Platoon or any of those war movies, except it was just ride down, we'll see you in Melbourne.
Yep. Yeah. Get on the cans and away you go. So I did that. That's pretty. I mean, that's what I love most about the film. That was just such a breakout time for Australian cinema. It was a lot of Australian cinema at the time was a very period piecey. You've got your Breaker Morant and your Picnic at Hanging Rock and kind of, I guess, more culturally relevant films. But then you had these absolutely sick genre flicks like this and like a whole heap of other Australian films at the time, like Alvin Purple and Turkey Shoot and just some... and sort of weird ass films that came out, and there was a lot of tax breaks for filmmakers at the time, and they came in and the censorship laws changed so that they allowed a lot more TNA on film. So it was just literally car chases and gore and cans on film with all these new filmmakers that went on to do some great stuff like Russell McKay and John Seale and George Miller and so many incredible filmmakers that started off in this gonzo exploitation time for cinema. So I just think it would have been absolutely shit hot fun to be making film back in that time.
100%. Look, and I think we skipped over George Miller. We didn't talk about him. This guy went on to frickin' direct and write Happy Feet. Right, so talk about a guy that's diverse and can sort of move with the times. Like that movie made $1 zillion. Like, the guy is minted.
The Witches of Eastwick, Lorenzo's Oil.
Yeah,
he won Best Director for Happy Feet.
Yeah, Babe.
But he was a producer. The Cowra Breakout, Bodyline, Aussie stuff, Vietnam, Dead Calm, Bangkok Hilton. Yeah. Babe.
Yeah, so they were the Kennedy Miller TV series. I mean, the guy's a genius, and Warren Kennedy passed away on a scouting mission for one of the films too. He was in a helicopter, and he was out there checking out location settings for one of the films, and passed away. But the two of them were just incredible what they did for international cinema, not just in Australia. But I think that they started out doing this whilst they had real jobs at the same time is just amazing.
But George Miller was going to direct Contact in '97,
right?
But there was some creative differences. Yeah, so they wanted to get rid of him, so they replaced him with Robert Zemeckis.
He dodged a bullet.
But to get him to step aside, they gave him the rights to Mad Max 2 and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. That was the deal.
Yeah, so hence Fury Road.
Not a bad deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, look, my good, and most of it's been mentioned, but this is low budget guerrilla filmmaking at its best. Like there is nothing that can compare to it in Australian film. It's next level good. I love the cars. I love all the cars. I'm a Holden guy, but those Fords are next level. And the Knight Riders, the first of the V8 Interceptors, which the Knight Rider steals, is actually a Holden Monaro. So it's the only Holden in the film. The rest of them are Fords. But the cars are amazing. The stunts, the fact that they're real. That urban legend about the guy that dies on the bridge on the bike where the bike hits him in the head.
Bike's in the back of the head,
Yeah, like there's so many good things. But probably my favourite thing, and Morgs has already mentioned it, is the stuntman on the back of Goose's bike just blows me away. Every time I watch it, I'm like, that fucker is going 170 kilometres an hour, and there's a guy on the back, right? And this is real.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's 1979 for you.
Yeah, exactly right. All right. Well, quality film. Morgs, what about bad? You got anything for bad?
What about when, at the start, when Mel goes with Jesse and they go and have a beer at the pub? He is drinking the world's smallest beer. It looks like it's a thimble, and it was just so un-Australian. I've never seen anything worse than that, and that was just horrific. So I don't know what they were thinking, but it's not even a pot. It's like a 7 ounce of beer, and just disgusting.
Well done.
I'll tell you what, for me,
That's not bad.
one of them was, and watching, bringing me back to being a kid, was when he goes to visit Goose in hospital and the charred hand slips out of the bed.
Oh, God.
And it just freaks you out, right? And then they don't show anything else in that, but they do that slow motion of Mel's face.
Yeah.
That real funny cinematography, but it just gives you, you just get everything you need out of that.
That's not the
It's,
goose in there.
Yeah. I don't know what that thing is. Yeah. That's my bad.
Yeah. Look, I've got some questions about the gang. Right? Is there a more homoerotic bikie gang ever? And what the fuck do they do? Like, bikie gangs nowadays are, what they do. They're a business, right? I don't know what they do. Is it like they're the baseball gang in the Warriors?
Well, this is what bikers used to do before they got into all of that. They used to go and ride,
Yeah.
and then they
But
they used to have to go and do their rides and had to go each time, and all part of that gang. Now it's more about business.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
More business.
All right. And what about the fact that this had to be dubbed into American to be released? I find is bad. And actually, it wasn't until the 2002 special edition release that Americans got to hear the original voices in the movie.
I don't know what they would have done with. You better send the meat truck. Charlie's got the saucer in the throat.
Yeah. But no. The American dub is the same words.
Oh, is it?
It's exact. It is word for word.
Oh, is it?
They haven't changed the words. It's just American accents.
Right.
So it's not like they've gone, he's got the pot in the throat. It's the same
They
stuff.
just changed the accent.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, and I'm sure when one of them comes up, the quote that I hope that you're going to say, that's an American accent, and it does not work as well as what it is said by the person. Anyway,
we'll get to that.
I know, but also, what I thought was bad is the singer licking her lips.
Oh,
Where she
yeah.
licks her teeth. Yeah. I was like, there is no fucking need for that. There is no need for that. It was awful. Anyway.
Here's just one bad one that when they get caught at the farm and she's coming back from the beach and they're all chasing around there, and then they locked it. May locks them all into the shed, and then Jessie drives off down the road, which is another thing. I don't know why she did that, but anyway, her and May go screaming through, and they go through the locked gate, and then the guys jump on their bikes and chase them down. But their bikes were somehow on the land. How did they get them on there without them hearing them or knowing? Yeah. Like it's a bit of a plot hole in that one.
Well, they were in the garage. They were in that garage or shed. They wheeled them in.
Yeah. So how did they get there without anyone knowing? Because Max was around the whole time. She went down to the beach, but Max was up around there.
Yeah.
The whole time. So anyway.
So what I don't get, just one thing on that is that, so she goes, when he goes to see the guy to get the tyre fixed, and she goes, I'm going to take Sprog, which we need to talk about as well, like having your son nicknamed after fucking cum. Anyway, they go down the beach, I'm going to get an ice cream. So she goes down, the gang's there. She knees Toecutter in the balls, puts the ice cream in his face, goes back and says to get in the car. Don't you get in the car? And Max would say, I would think, hey, darling, what happened? There's a biker gang that tried to rape me. We need to leave. And it's like, it's just resume holiday as normal. You know what I mean? Like, just go the other way, mate.
Yeah.
Like, I know our mate wants something back, but and that happens after that.
Yeah.
Like, end it, mate.
Well,
go back to where there's police. Go.
But how they actually found them, because they didn't know which way they were going.
Well, this is it.
They didn't chase them. So how did they find them out?
It's like Anarchy Road's the only road in Australia. Yeah. So anyway, you got anything for ugly?
Well, this is going to turn, but the ugly for me is when her and the kid get run down. I mean, that's pretty brutal. And I remember watching it. It's pretty brutal. You don't see that in many movies, that being a catalyst. But why did she run down the middle of the road?
I was thinking exactly the same thing.
Like, you at least, wouldn't you take off for the right? Well, one, I don't know why she left in the car knowing that Max is running around with a gun somewhere on the property.
Yeah.
But then she took off in the car and went straight down the road and then kept running down the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Don't know why. Can't answer it.
Yeah. And shoot him. The old bird just should have shot one of them.
Yeah. Well, she tried.
Well, did she though?
The gun blasted out of control.
Yeah. Morgs, you got anything for ugly?
It's very, very picky, but just that whole Max and Jessie on holidays, it's a bit slow. I understand it's a plot device. We've got to get them out so that we get those horrific parts where she gets run down and Sprog dies and the like. But on the revisit this week, I was just like, oh god, if this was a movie these days, you just wouldn't have that much of a dip in the action. So it's a little weird too. So Max is obviously the star of the flick, but if you think about it, it really goes to Goose's point of view for a good chunk of the movie, so halfway through, and Max doesn't have a lot of scenes nor a lot of dialogue in it. So it's interesting that it changes perspective, which is unusual in this type of movie. But I think that probably if they were revisit with a 2022 script editor on board, then they probably would have gone about the script a bit differently. But I think because the rest of the action sequences and everything are just so incredible that it's something that you can forgive. But definitely that whole holiday scene, with the whole holiday section, was something that it did. My attention lapsed for sure.
Yeah. Do you think it's Do you think that device is because they want to have some skin in the game by the audience? We want us to invest in Goose, so they make him a focal point, so that when he dies, we're like, well, fuck, Max has got to avenge him. So the revenge sort of starts from there, right?
Well, Max still tries to get out of it. Then
he does try to get out. I'm done. Yeah, and that was odd as well.
Fifi wouldn't. Well, he'd already, but at the start, he said that. He said, I want to get out of it. Yeah. And then they said, no. And that's why they got him with the new car. Remember, they go in and get in the new car.
We'll give them back their heroes, Max.
Yeah. But before that, when they showed him the new car, the Interceptor, that's why they were trying. They even said that. They cut to Fifi, and he's like, that's how we'll keep him, right?
Okay. All right. I got one ugly, and it's not anything really to do with the film. It's just to do with the circumstances. The red-stained ass of the hot rod driver as he's
I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, that was
running through the field.
That was awful.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know exactly what has happened.
Yeah.
And then when you see the girl, the inner of her thighs is red as well.
Yeah.
And it is just so obvious that there's been a train run through the both of them.
Yeah.
And no wonder he's running off, right? He's
and that's what I mean. Like for those times, that was pretty brutal, right?
It's heavy today.
Yeah.
Like every time I see that, I'm like, oh my god.
And seeing those things when you're young, you're just like, it's scary.
Yeah, it is. It's frightening. And even when they come to her and she's leashed up, and there's that. It's so ominous. You think that something's going to happen as they're sort of reeling her in. Yeah, it's brutal.
And it's the same in Mad Max 2. Remember, there's the whole scene where they grab the girl and they rape her, and then he shoots her with the little cross arrows as well. It's very similar.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, there we go. I think that's pretty good for the categories. We're going to move into listen to this, where we tell you a little bit about some behind the scenes stuff. We'll start with you, Gow. What do you got?
Well, Morg's already punched my good one out of here, but that was that most of the extras used in the film were paid in beer.
Yeah, and it's obvious too.
Something that Morgs has done through his career as well. He really took that on, that early learning.
Yeah.
Look, one here is that Johnny the Boy, Tim Burns that played Johnny the Boy got so much into character that he was annoying everyone on the set to the point where they left him handcuffed to the wreck one day.
Yeah.
When they all went to lunch.
He's a shit character.
Yeah.
He's so hated.
But that's why he's a good character, right?
No, exactly. He's got to evoke an emotion for sure.
But because no one likes him on one side and the other guys don't really like him either.
Yeah.
And he's tolerated.
Yeah. Anything else, G-Man?
The other one was a lot of the stunt driving in the movie was illegal and done very quickly. Like we already talked about that. So now I'll bounce through.
Yeah.
Morgs might have some more.
Yeah, you got Morgs got anything?
We've really touched on the stunts, but the actual stunt men in the film, led by the incredible Grant Page, was just amazing what they were getting up to. I mean, these guys were just cuckoo, absolute cowboys. Grant Page actually broke his leg when he did the stunt in the MFP car going through the caravan, but that didn't deter him from doing more stunts on the film. Like, they were just absolutely nuts, these guys, and all of the motorbike stunts where they were jumping off the bridges, and there's safety just wasn't a thing. There wasn't a safety officer on set. They didn't get permits. They just literally went for it. And I think it was the stunt guys were a real huge part of the film and have continued to be a huge part of all of George Miller's action films, especially when you think about Mad Max Fury Road. And I really enjoyed the first use of the pole vault when they pole vault onto the top of the petrol truck, and then obviously that comes back in a huge way in Fury Road when you have all of his acolytes swinging onto just some incredible vision for these ridiculous stunts that were workshopped on the fly with these guys. They weren't written into the script. It was, okay, what can we do here that's fucking sick? And Grant Page and his boys would get in and just make it really cool. So, yeah, I think the fact that this guy could break his leg and that didn't stop him coming to work the next day was just pretty awesome. And Grant Page is just revered in Australian cinema for what he was able to do in multiple films like that. Just an incredible stuntman.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've got obviously the budget was super tight, so all the cars were decommissioned police cars, and the Goose was the only guy that had real leathers. Everyone else was in vinyl.
Yep.
Because that's all they could afford. They could afford one suit.
Mate, they couldn't even afford Fifi's shirt at one stage for one scene.
They couldn't.
He just had to get the scarf on.
He turned into a scarf. And look, all the bikes were donated by Kawasaki. They were all late model demonstrators. So, and most of the bikers kept the bikes at the end, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we were talking earlier that Max, Mel Gibson got paid $10,000 to star in this film. The Interceptor cost $35,000 to make, so three times plus the price of Mel Gibson.
Well, but I mean,
he's the star of the show, though.
He's coming out of nowhere. I mean, that launched his career.
Yeah. So, and look, we've been through a couple of others, but look, if you want to hear, there's a lot of good stuff on YouTube behind the scenes, Mad Max stuff. I'm actually going to put a link in the show notes, so have a watch of that, which is the stunt that I talked about earlier, which was the rocket at the start with the Knight Rider. It's an amazing little doco, an interview with Steve Bisley, and also an interview with George Miller. So have a watch that. It'll be in the show notes. Okay, so we've done 1 Degree, which we know as Mel, for Tequila Sunrise. And quotables, Gal, you got anything in quotables?
I do. Here's my favourite one, and it's early in the movie.
Oh, I hope it's what I think it's going to be.
And it's when Goose is...
It's exactly what it is!
They're in that first chase. And he comes flying in on the bike, and he gets taken out. He slides in up to the car and hits the car, and he's lying there with his leg wrapped under my bike. The guy goes, "What happened?" He goes, "I don't know. I just got here myself." I thought that was great.
That is a good one. That is a good one. Okay, and I got another Goose one, which is a very close second to that one, which is when the guy with the red ass is running through the field, and him and Max turn up in the car, and he's like, Hey fella. And he's like, he turns to Max and goes, "What a turkey." And he goes, "Hey fella, you're a turkey." And I watched that on the American dub, and it is dreadful. Yeah. Right? Oh, wow. Hey fella, you're a turkey.
I like telling, "Hey Midge, don't ride up the Goose until you see the box going into the hole."
Yeah, he's good. He's so good. There's a lot of good there's a lot of good, obviously, the chain in those handcuffs is high tensile steel. Yeah. It'll take you 10 minutes to hack through it with this. Now, if you're lucky, you could hack through your ankle in 5 minutes. Go. There's a lot of really good, passages in this film.
Yeah, there is, definitely is. Yeah. I think Goose gets a lot of those good lines because they're making that character larger than life.
Yeah. I also
for the inevitable takedown.
I also love when they turn up to the station and Bubba Zanetti says, "We're here to meet a friend coming on the train." The station master says, "Nothing coming on the train except a couple of crates and a coffin."
Yeah.
Our friend. So good. It's so creepy. And then when Jessie's in the hospital, and I've only just noticed the last few times that she's missing an arm. She's fully missing an arm and half a leg.
So there's a fan theory about that. So I don't know if you guys have come across it, but because the time space is a bit out of whack with Fury Road and it being Max, the original Max Rockatansky. So there's a fan theory which George Miller has disproved but loves it, that Furiosa is actually Jessie. And because she doesn't have an arm, Furiosa doesn't have an arm, and so she becomes
Furiosa's only missing half an arm, and Jessie's missing a whole fucking arm.
Yeah, so it's a pretty weak fan theory, but no, it's interesting.
It's good,
but the other fan theory is that Max in Fury Road is actually the feral kid from Road Warrior.
I've heard that one.
which is really interesting as well. So, and George Miller has openly said that he doesn't, whilst they're related films, he feels no absolute need to make the continuity and make the characters. Not at all. They're just these. The mythology's similar, but he's quite happy to mess around with time structure and whatever he needs to do, which I think is awesome.
So my last one is on that scene when Jesse's in the hospital and the two doctors in there, and one doctor says to the other, "What do you reckon?" And the other doctor says, "I'm a doctor, not a fortune teller."
And then it pans to him just outside the door.
Behind the door. You're just like,
brutal.
Fuck.
Brutal.
Yeah. Okay, look, there's 100, there's a whole Knight Rider monologue I've got there. Look, watch the movie. It's eminently quotable. And we've missed one. My friend Kundalini with his hand back.
Yes.
Which is probably the best one.
Gets used a lot.
We have used that a lot. Okay, good quotes. Moving on. Film school for F-wits. And Dan is back. Take it away.
Yes, fellow F-wits. Sorry I've been out of action the last couple of weeks dealing with this ridiculous DVT, but loved revisiting Mad Max and Big Bad Mel Gibson and looking at Mel on screen. It made me sad that we didn't get to see more of Mel at his peak, and he did have that fall off the cliff as far as Get the Gringo and going downhill from basically the reputational damage he did by being a bit of a fuckwit in his private life. So I thought we'd look at the top 5 actors similar to Mel and including Mel that were cancelled essentially. And cancelled's a bit of a 2021, 2022 word, but it wasn't around at the time for a lot of these people. But it essentially just meant that the Hollywood system, for whatever reason, just decided that it wasn't going to be good business to use these actors in their films anymore. So we'll pause on Mel for a second. But in no particular order, one that's been really topical recently is Kevin Spacey. So Kevin's popped up in a couple of films that we've done, and we loved him in Seven and just thought he was incredible. And as an actor, I think it would certainly be hard to argue that he's one of the most incredible actors of our lifetimes for sure, and definitely of the 21st century into the noughties. But obviously, he was accused of some pretty heinous crimes with having wandering hands with a lot of the dudes on his sets, and subsequently was that they had to can at the cost of multiple bazillions of dollars the final series of House of Cards on Netflix, which was just a juggernaut, but was rushed and handled pretty poorly in the end because they had to remove him. He basically just died during the show's hiatus, as far as the writers would have you believe. But we really lost the ability to enjoy a magnificent actor in his prime. Now, he's since been found not guilty in at least one of his high-profile civil cases against Anthony Rapp, who accused him of some unauthorised tampering back in the day. So it'd be interesting to see how Hollywood reacts to that. So there's a whole lot of other accusations.
There's a heap of others. There's a heap of other accusations.
And that's the thing. And unfortunately, because of all the accusations, he's where there's smoke, there's fire. He's been tainted by it. So what's to say that he doesn't come out the other end and they're all disproven and we get to go back to enjoying Kevin Spacey and some of his incredible roles like American Beauty and what he was able to do in pretty much every role that you've seen him in. He sort of didn't have a dud effort. So, yeah, Kevin Spacey unfortunately cancelled at the moment, but might have a chance to come back. A bit of a comical one was Winona Ryder. So the starlet from the Gen X films that we just loved and grew up loving was unfortunately cancelled herself a few years back when she was caught shoplifting and just went on a bit of a drug possession ring. So certainly doing nothing that we would frown on if we saw her out in the middle of the cross on a Friday night enjoying herself. But unfortunately,
can you believe that happened?
Yeah.
I think she was lucky that she was so young, but she was really young when that happened. That was probably led to her being back in, but far out.
She made it back, though.
It reminded me.
Yeah.
I watched King Richard for the first time the other night, and I don't know if you've seen the film. Will Smith's in it,
yeah,
and coincidentally it features an actor playing Jennifer Capriati because she was around about at the same time, and it just got me to thinking back that she was also not cancelled, but caught shoplifting when she was a bazillionaire tennis star. And so it's obviously very, very weird to us lay people.
She had some blowout at an early age because of all the pressure drug issues.
She got on the piss and drugs and stuff.
That's it, yeah. So she was, I mean, obviously completely different. But, yeah, Winona Ryder has since been able to climb away from that cancel and has starred in the last 4 seasons of Stranger Things, where she is excellent. So, it definitely proves that it is possible to get out of the cancel if you need to. Another one we spoke about earlier on the pod was Robert Downey Jr., who obviously went into quite the downfall spiral with major drug issues back in the day, and actually ended up in prison for a variety of drug charges. And for a lesser actor and talent, I think that would probably spell the end of a career. But he was able to climb back, and he did. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with another favourite.
That was the one.
Val Kilmer. Yeah, Val Kilmer. He actually had just come out of prison when he'd done that, and the producers took a real leap of faith to cast him, and he was excellent. And that's an underrated film that I
that's
really
a great
enjoyed.
movie. It's a great movie.
Worth a really look, F-Wits, if you're looking for something to watch. But obviously, then was reborn as Tony Stark in the Iron Man films, and I know I'm proudly anti-Marvel films, but that first Iron Man film was definitely entertaining, and I think that his character has been quite a bright spot in otherwise pretty drab films throughout that franchise. But he obviously is way too talented for that particular
terrific actor.
Yeah,
terrific
brilliant.
actor.
So again, was able to transcend that cancellation. But a more recent one that's going to be interesting watching from the sidelines is Will Smith, who obviously just blew a fucking gasket at the Oscars. And if you read a bit more about him, it sounds like they've had a really weird marriage, him and Jada Pinkett Smith. And
he just seems to be seriously pussy whipped.
It's I'm going to tread it carefully how you describe him, but from what I've read, it seems like she's quite controlling in that relationship, and unfortunately, it all reared itself on that particular Oscar.
But do you know the worst thing? You know the worst thing with that to me was that not the fact that, well, yeah, it was really bad that he did it. Sorry, that's wrong, but it was really bad he did it. But then he was out dancing and laughing afterwards, as though nothing happened, which really didn't make it. Well, it made it worse. Made it much worse.
Absolutely, and he stands 6'2" and is quite a big unit, and Chris Rock's 4'8", and so definitely
with his hands behind his back.
Didn't enhance Will Smith's tough guy credentials by beating on poor old Chris Rock, and actually was able to revitalise Chris Rock's career on the back of that. But yeah, I this one will be interesting. I don't think Will Smith comes back from this. Like, I don't. Whilst he's a revered actor and won the Academy Award for King Richard, I just can't see how you come back from that in this day and age. Like, it might be a slow trickle at the back end of his career when he gets a bit on and people start to forget. But yeah, what a dickhead! Like, it just absolutely unnecessary.
I've loved Will Smith since Bad Boys, or since Fresh Prince, really. Yeah. But and he's been awesome in a lot of movies. But there's not a lot of want to watch. I watched King Richard just because I had some time to,
yeah, I really enjoyed that. No, I watched it recently, and look, absolutely a talent. I think in the biopics he's done, like Ali, he was great, and I think he improved over the years as an actor too. There's very famous footage of him in the first few episodes of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where you can see him repeating the lines of the actor that he's playing across from as he's trying to get his timing. So he obviously started out as a complete novice, but became Hollywood royalty as an actor. But yeah,
he's super talented. I mean, he's a triple threat, right? He can sing,
carried on like a complete bellend. Yeah, my kids love Aladdin, and I think it's a real shame that he's ended up down this path. But
I reckon he comes back.
Okay. No, it'd be
I reckon it's going to take a while. I
think
and it's going to have to be something good that brings him back.
You know what? Like, I think people will go, "Yep, you were a dickhead. Yep, you slapped Chris Rock." But at the end of the day, he slapped Chris Rock. He didn't pet anyone. He didn't touch anyone inappropriately. He's not Me Too'd. It's nothing.
But there's always all that weird stuff in the background too.
Yeah,
so,
I agree. I think he comes back. I think it's going to take some time. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow or this year or next year. I reckon he's back.
We'll see.
Yeah.
No, we'll watch this space. Yeah, good. There's certainly no denying that he's brought some brilliant performances to film over the years, so it would be good to see him come back. But finally, obviously, doing Mad Max couldn't bypass Mel Gibson, who just had a horrific run of being caught out by partners and just bitten sprung on tape. Mel, you don't want to say these things into your phone. Oh Mel, and I'm just really going to enjoy the feedback on Mel through the week. And yeah, I don't know. So Mel Gibson, he's starting to dabble a bit now where he comes back. Jodie Foster cast him in The Beaver, which was a bit of a flop, but it was apparently quite a good script, but just didn't translate to a good film, which Jodie Foster helmed. Yeah, apparently it was on the page. It read quite well. I haven't read the script, but that was the goss around town. But yeah, I don't know, Mel. He does cameos in the likes of The Expendables. Gow, that's a cameo where he's sort of trading on his old fame and infamy. But yeah, I just don't know. I think we've lost an amazing talent as a director and a producer and a storyteller and an actor just because of his pretty repugnant views that he expresses at very much the wrong time.
There's no doubt that his views are repugnant, but he was an alcoholic. Like, get off the piss, Mel. Get off the piss.
Yeah, so anyway, that's 5 people that have been cancelled. Anyone else you guys can think of that springs to mind that has kind of crashed and burned and hasn't been able to make it back?
I don't know. You've hit some really good ones there. There's some top-notch ones there.
The only other one that I thought was interesting was Arnie. So Arnie obviously got sprung with a bit of 6'3" evidence in the form of a son that came out of his cleaner. But he seems to have been able to transcend that as in his governorship, and I guess he's never going to hit the heights of the Arnie that we love from the 80s. But it doesn't seem like he suffers from the same fate as many of these other actors.
No, but he's well past his prime. I mean, what's he doing these days? The Expendables, a bit of that. Like he's not.
Yeah, look, he's
sort of done. He'd all done. He was in the twilight, I'd say, of his career.
Well, one thing we did miss is that Arnie was actually up for the role of Bubba Zanetti in this movie. And he just missed out. He was just a bit big for the bike. That was it. That's the only thing that held him back.
Yeah, George Miller really wanted him.
Yeah, he really wanted him, yeah, definitely.
When I bump a guy and it feels like I'm calming.
No, well done, Dan. Another quality film school for F-wits. And look, before we move into star of the show, we've had a couple of messages this week, and I actually want to talk about. We haven't spoken about Johnny Bull for a while, and he sent a message to the team this week. Actually, he sent the message today, and it was about a little recommendation that we had made last week. And there are people that have, I guess, given us a bit of a rough time about doing the raid last week and doing a foreign film and doing a martial arts film. This is from Johnny Bill.
Bill.
This is from, it's his brother, Johnny Bull. Crew, tip of the year, definitely the Raid 2. Oh, definitely the Raid. 2 watches down and climbing up the list of Bully's favourites. Had to check my fucking pulse. It is hectic. Great call, F-wits. F-wit in training. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Gow, if you haven't watched it, Gow, you need to watch it. It's a real Gow movie. Damo says this is right up Gow's alley.
Okay, I'll get onto it.
I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it.
He's on the pulse, Johnny Bull. I think that a lot of fellow F-wits could take a leaf out of his book and give us a few more raps. So,
he's a good fellow, Johnny Bull.
We actually thinking that we did get some other input from out there in our listeners. Yeah,
go for it.
We had a new one come in from a new listener called G2 Tunka. Yeah, it's come out and said, I saw he did a podcast last week without Gow on his stats while he was away on hiatus. It's not a criticism, just an observation.
It's not the same. Yeah. It is definitely not the same.
Thanks, G2 Tunka.
It is definitely not the same. Very funny. All right, star of the show. Gow, who's your MVP for Mad Max?
It's Max.
Okay.
In this movie. Look, I always love him until his ladies. I love Mel Gibson as an actor, but he really knocks it out of the park. It's for me.
Yep.
Love it.
Good first up. Morgs?
It's a tie for me between George Miller and Byron Kennedy and the Australian film industry of the late 70s, early 80s. So I crap on about it, fellow F-wits, but check out Not Quite Hollywood, The Wild Untold Story of Ozploitation. It is just a brilliant view of all these crazy films, many of which you wouldn't have seen, but these guys were just mavericks. They did things on a shoestring George Miller has created an aesthetic. You think about how many post-apocalyptic dystopian films have come since Mad Max and The Road Warrior, where they invented that look. Like it didn't. All those knobs at Burning Man, they're getting their basis of that look from the vision of these guys. Like it wasn't a thing before they came along. And I just think that they don't get enough credit for what they've done for the film industry. And I think that the both of them and just the absolute maverick, crazy Australian film industry of the time, it just looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm with you, Morgs. I'm going with the director, George Miller, as my star of the show. This movie doesn't happen without him.
No, true.
Mel Gibson is great. Steve Bisley is great. The whole movie is great. But what he was able to achieve on The Smell of an Oily Rag just really kickstarted the Australian film industry for the next 50 years. This is next level stuff. I love it. I think he was just immense, and he's gone on to do some other great stuff as well.
Oh, mate, they're all good in this. I mean, Mel starts. We're seeing a star.
We've seen a star.
Seeing a star being born and just coming through to hit his straps, and hasn't really got to his peak yet. But
cannot disagree.
You just know that. He's going places.
Yeah,
that
cannot disagree. He looks like he's going straight into the cancelled bin, doesn't he? I picked that in '79. I said when I watched it with my dad when I was 7, that guy will be cancelled soon.
Mate, there's this cancelling thing going to go on.
Yeah.
And he's one of them.
Yeah, this is it. All right, look, final thoughts. What a movie. Holds up today, 40-odd years later. It is a quality film, Mad Max. If you haven't seen it, then I don't know what rock you've been hiding under. If you haven't, go and see it. Just find it. It's on streaming somewhere. I'm pretty sure it might actually be on Netflix, but don't hold me to that purple. Because last time you held me to it, you got quite angry at me. Let's move into the rank bank and let's see where Mad Max is going to sit in the pantheon of Born to Watch films. And we're going to start with you, Dan. And how many? And hang on, now we're not going to start with you because here's the choices tonight. Okay, so we've got hacksaws, we've got turkeys, we've got V8 interceptors, we've got hands on a chain, we've got baby shoes. And we've got fuel-injected suicide machines.
I think it's fuel-injected suicide machines. I was going to say V8 interceptors, but you've come in strong with the final one. Yeah. Let's go with fuel-injected suicide machines.
Yeah, I would have said Toecutters is a good one, but that's a good one. Fuel-injected suicide machines.
I left fuel-injected suicide machines last because I knew we'd end up going with that one. Okay, so we're going to start with you, Dan. How many fuel-injected suicide machines are you giving to Mad Max?
Yeah, I'd like to start by saying get fucked, IMDb, go home, you're drunk. 6.8 is tripping balls. This is a 4 out of 5 fuel-injected suicide machines every day of the week. Amazing, amazing film. Bettered by, I'd say Mad Max 2 will end up doing that on this at some stage, so it'd be good to compare and contrast.
100%.
But it's fair to say that they just kicked off one of cinema's greatest ever franchises, and certainly am looking very much forward to when Furiosa comes out in the next couple of years. But yeah, this is a 4 out of 5 for me. Well played, George Miller and co.
Perfect. And Gow, how many fuel-injected suicide machines are you giving Mad Max?
I'm giving it 4.25. I just have always loved this movie since I've been a kid. There's just something magical about it to me, and I never get sick of watching this movie. I haven't watched it, for quite a while now, but it's always something you can put on and be happy to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep, I agree.
I would have liked to watch it a lot more times over the years, but I got denied.
Well, we'd always watched it the week before that you wanted to watch
apparently.
it.
Did we talk about overs and unders? What did you set the bar?
We're going to talk about over and unders after we've done this. I'm giving Mad Max 4.25 fuel-injected suicide machines. I think it is just quality. I love it. And I think I'm with you, Morgs. How this gets 6.8 on IMDb is fucking beyond me. And American viewers should hang their head in shame that they've rated it so low. But that then, and I'm just going to move this over so that Gow can see where we're at here as he does his part.
Here we go. So we've got right below the guard. So we're coming in here at 4.17. Sorry, we're tied. We're tied with the guard.
In ninth spot at 4.17. Now, right above the Wolf of Wall Street at 4.08. That's going to be a touchy subject for some, maybe. And right below Ghostbusters at 4.25. So into 10th or equal 9th spot. Yep, equal 9th. Mad Max, well done. 4.17 fuel-injected suicide machines. I think that's a worthy spot for it.
Yep. I like that.
Yeah, I think that sits well.
It's a good solid spot.
Top 10. How long it stays there for will remain to be seen.
It's on the cusp. One more good movie and it's out.
I think we would be remiss without mentioning the over and under for this movie. Now, this movie came out in 1979. I'm going to set the over and under very high. I'm going to say 50. I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility here that we hit that mark. We'll start with you, Gow. Over and under 50 for Mad Max.
It's so hard to know, but it's going to be up. It's got to be right up there. I'd go with over 50.
Yeah,
I'd go with over 50, maybe. Yeah.
Yep. Dan,
under 50, but lots.
Yeah. Look, I'm over 50 and substantially over 50. This is one of the movies that I would just put on in the background. Just you can just float in and out of, and you'll be doing something, and you'll come back to it, and it'll be something iconic. So I'd say over 50.
Yeah, I don't change. I'd say close to more. I'd say under 50, but lots, because I don't know if I've watched it 50 times. That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's
it is.
Lot.
I know you watch a lot. I'd watch it more than once a year.
I'm not sure I would have, but
like I've watched Mad Max probably 3 or 4 times in the last 12 months.
Well, I've watched this movie more than most others that I've rewatched. So
okay, perfect. Okay, so what are we watching? Dan, we'll start with you. What are you watching, mate? I think.
I'm trying to think what I've been watching. Obviously, not quite Hollywood, just because I love that. If you may have picked up on that once or twice or 50 bloody times. So I can't think of anything else I'm watching this week. Sorry, F-Wits, nothing. But, no, I know The Old Man. I've been watching that on Disney, which is
Jeff Bridges.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm continuing with it. Don't love it, don't hate it. Just continue on with it.
Yep, Gow.
I am right at the end of Better Call Saul.
What happened to Kim? What happened to Kim?
What are you giving away spoilers for?
I'm just asking.
Dan sucks.
Why would he start talking about that?
He's got his hat on backwards, like Jim Courier. He's acting like a fuckwit.
I actually prefer Mikhail Penfold's, but yes, that's what I was going for.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I started something this week, and Quick Smart ended it, which is Blockbuster, which is on Netflix, which is the movie TV series about the last Blockbuster.
Oh.
It's quite ironic that Netflix are producing a TV show.
Yes, it is.
The business that they sent out of business, but I've actually done a review on YouTube about it. It's bad.
Okay.
I've gone 4 episodes, and that's the line in the sand.
Was it in Australia, the last Blockbuster? Was that correct?
Well, I think actually you're right. I think there was the last Blockbuster in Australia, but this is about the last Blockbuster in America.
Right, okay.
Because that's all that matters, is, America. So anyway, I started and finished that Quick Smart and shan't be continuing.
Fair enough.
That brings us to the end of another episode of Born to Watch, our 25th. Thank you for staying with us.
Where are we going? What are we doing?
Well, look, we're staying Aussie. We're moving into the comedy realm. And we're going with an old favourite of ours. Hey, Mick.
Yeah, I thought that might be where you're going.
Stuffed.
Yeah, excellent. Love that.
Yeah, Crocodile Dundee.
That's going to be a good one.
Crocodile Dundee next week, and this won't take a lot of research. Is another one that we've all seen quite a lot of times, and we've quoted a long time on many quotes in that movie.
It's going to take a long time just on the quote.
Actually, I remember where I went and saw that at the cinemas too, which is probably the only film in 25 that we've discussed that I remember. So, yeah, this will be a good one for me.
Yeah.
So what was it, 87, 86?
86.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look, well, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about a terrible G-string, and we'll have plenty to talk about the arm and the can of pea soup. There's a lot of stuff to talk about in Crocodile Dundee that I'm sure we'll all cover. It's been actually really great to have the boys back in with me. They've been sorely missed. It's just not the same without you. And we look forward to seeing all of you again, or hearing all of you again on the line next week for Crocodile Dundee. So for me, it's bye for now.
See you, everybody. Look forward to catching up with you next week.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Born to Watch. To join us on our journey into some of our favourite movies of all time, you can find us on all good podcast networks like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you like what you hear, give us a 5-star review and share with your friends.